Hey guys, it's Jackie from Jack Gets Lost at a Book Hole, and I thought I would do a tag. And the tag I'm going to do is the Bad Habits book tag, and I will post the link to the original creator on my video when I'm done. Okay, so there are several questions about, like, bad habits, like drinking, smoking, eating unhealthily, stuff like that. Okay, so the first question is binge drinking, an alcoholic character, and this, I know everybody would say this character, but it's the only one I can think of out of the books I've read. Now that I'm getting even more into historical fiction, I'm sure I could probably find some in historical fiction. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with a character that's the obvious answer for this question, and that is Haymitch from the Hunger Games, who is Katniss's mentor. I don't have the book anymore. I donated it a while back, actually, no, I think I might have given our copies to a friend, and I never got them back, and I feel weird asking back for them. I mean, I could technically buy them at the used bookstore or borrow them from the library just to reread them. So I'm gonna just show you the DVD of the first movie. So he's just an obvious answer. I mean, if you can't think of any others, go to him. And then I have not read The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I haven't got around to it. And I know there's an alcoholic character in there, or at least a character that drinks a lot. So I can't use that as an example because I don't have it, and I never read it, so it wouldn't count. Okay, so the next question number 2. Biting your nails, which I don't do, but I will if I have a loose nail. Like, I will pick the dirt out of my nails, and if I have a hangnail, I will try to get it without ripping it too fast because that can hurt really bad. But, so I don't bite them, but I know that there are people that do. A book that made you nervous. And I picked 1984, although this might be replaced by The Circle, but, I answered these questions before I read The Circle, so I'm sticking with my answer, and then it's 1984. This one made me so anxious. Like, the YA dystopians like Hunger Games never made me nervous. It just felt like another sci-fi fantasy, even though it's not sci-fi or fantasy, but although it's probably more sci-fi than fantasy, because fantasy and sci-fi are not the same thing. They can be mixed together, but they're not the same, and I hate it when this is one of my pet peeves, is that when people, like, when they're talking about a TV show or a book or something, and they say, like, someone is being interviewed. Like, I remember a while back my mom loves the show Ryan and Kelly. She watches on her days off, or even when she has to go to work, because she usually doesn't have to leave work until 9:30. Because it's like 5-minute drive for her. Maybe a little more, maybe like 10 minutes. And they were interviewing one of the actors from Supernatural. And Ryan called it a sci-fi show. It's supernatural. Just call it. It's a fantasy show. It's just dark fantasy, but it's not sci-fi. There are no aliens involved. There's a little bit of time travel involved, but there's no aliens. There's no, like, machine, really crazy technology. The only thing they have is, like, a gun that that can kill demons, and it's more steampunk-like style to me. That gun, because, like, from the Old West. And there's no sci-fi in the show. I mean, there were times when they thought, except for the time travel. There's a little bit of time travel in the show, but that's it. And it's like, no, it's not sci-fi. Just because it's fantasy does not mean it's the same thing as sci-fi. It just drives me crazy. It's one of my major pet peeves when people, like, even when a friend of mine referred to Star Wars as a fantasy show. And yes, the whole mind power thing, the power of the Jedi could be seen as supernatural or fantastical. But even then, even that little bit of her saying it's a fantasy show, it's like, no, it's sci-fi. And it just irked me, because it's just generally when people get those two, like, thinking them are the same thing. I mean, yes, they can be blended together, but it doesn't mean they're the same thing. So even then, I got kind of annoyed, even though, yes, you could argue that the the Jedi's mind power could be seen as fantastical like. But anyway, I'm getting off on tangent. I don't want this video too long because that will be basically wasting my day away because I have to go over again to our neighbors to watch their little puppy who is cute but is very frustrating because he doesn't listen. But then he's also a puppy, so of course he doesn't listen. But like I said, Hunger Games did not make me nervous. It was just a typical, dystopian. But this one, these adult dystopians like this one, and then I read The Circle, which is like, basically, I feel like it's on the verge of becoming a dystopia, the world that's in there, but it's not yet, but it's on the line where it could become that way. I would love for the author of The Circle to actually write it. Part of me would love for him to write a sequel where we see the world dystopian and see the stupidity of our protagonist and then her realizing too late that, oh, guess what? By the way, you just ignited a dystopian society. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So sorry, I keep doing that thing I do where I get off on tangents. But yeah, this one just it's a lot more scary, and there's no chosen girl or guy that's meant to defeat the government and everything. And in fact, the person that defeats them, it really is an average guy who just has realized that something's up and is questioning things. But he's not some badass. He's an average guy, that is a little bit smarter than the other people. So, anyway, next question is, I didn't have one for this one. Question number 3, if you're interested in, is unhealthy eating. A book that mentions or which is a theme, eating disorders. It either mentions eating disorders, or it's the theme of the plot. I don't read, well, I guess the closest I can come to this is I always forget the first part of that title. The Upside of Unrequited, because the girl, I don't think she didn't have an eating disorder, but she was a bit of a bigger girl. She's overweight, and that was part of that's what made the book, I think, really interesting, is because of she wasn't your typical willowy heroine. She was actually, a thicker girl. And that was kind of an issue throughout. That was kind of a small issue throughout the story. She was given a hard time about that. But it wasn't really an eating disorder. It was just that she was a thicker girl, had a bigger body type. So that's the closest, because I don't really read contemporary, and I haven't read a lot of drama. I mean, I have read some adult dramas that I don't know, they might be considered contemporary just for adults. But, I don't remember if any of them involved eating disorders at all. So the closest I have is The Upside of Unrequited with the main protagonist, whose name I've already forgotten. Okay, so Staying Up Late, a book you read into the night. Okay, I don't have that one. I guess, I should change my answer because I don't have this book. Originally, I said Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte just to finish it, because it's one of my favorites, although I've come to realize as I've gotten older and after watching Murphy Napier's video about it and how she was not in love with the book like everybody else, was understandable, which is fine. Plus, I'm far removed that I'm not oh my god, how dare you not love this book? Because there was a time when I really loved the book, and I would probably be a little sensitive about it. But she said there were some problematic elements about the main relationship, and I get that. I definitely agree. And Rochester, I have a list of period drama guys that I like, and he's been Rochester is not as high up anymore, but for my first big problem with his character was that I felt like he was too needy, he was too desperate to keep her. Not that I want a guy not to care, but I don't want a guy to seem more emotional than me. I mean, or at least... No, actually it's the wrong way to put it, because I want to know that I don't want the guy to be... I wouldn't want a guy that's not emotional in any capacity. I want a guy that is sensitive and understanding, especially with someone like me, because I got some disabilities and emotional problems myself, But I mean, it's just, he was trying too hard to keep her. And he manipulated, and if I'm sure, I'm not going to even say this is a spoiler, because I'm sure most people have read this book, that he manipulates her, and it kind of bugged me. I didn't like that. I mean, I understand why he did it, but it just bugged me. So it's not as much up there as it is, but anyway, I used it as the answer to the question because it really, I wanted to finish it. I was determined to finish it, and it is one of my favorites. It's still on the list of favorites. It's just not as high up. I was going to change the answer, but I don't feel like getting up. I'm lazy like that, and, it's going to waste time, so. But, the other answer I was going to say was, according to Missing Fury, I was determined to get that one done. I was really excited. I wanted to get done because the next day, I read it last year, and the next day, the new one would come out in bookstores, so I was, determined to finish the book so I would have a good excuse to buy it. So I could, not an excuse to buy it, because I would buy it either way, but even if I wasn't finished, but just so I could jump right into it afterwards. And as soon as I bought it. So anyway, so yeah, I'm not gonna change my answer. I'm gonna stick with Jane Eyre. I just don't have the book with me to show you guys, because I lent it out to my cousin. But that one was another one that I stayed up late into the night to try to finish. Okay, question number 5. Procrastination, which I do quite often. I still do, because I have not, read. Granted, I don't have anything to turn into anyone, but I did recently contact a friend that would look at my writing to hold me accountable for, but she's been pretty busy, so, because she runs a magazine, and the magazine is gonna. So anyway, that's ramblingness. But yes, I'm a big procrastinator. But I always have my parents pushing me not to procrastinate, so. A book you want to read but keep putting off. Although I don't know if I want to read this. This is debatable if I want to actually read the book. But I feel pressured to read the book. I feel pressured to read the trilogy, but, at the same time, it's I shouldn't feel that kind of pressure. And maybe it's my own fault, but I feel like I've heard people say that, you're not a true fan of this genre if you don't read this book. And that is The Fellowship of the Ring. The whole trilogy, in fact. I've only read The Hobbit. And I feel there's this, and again, maybe it's just my imagination, maybe I'm just being paranoid, but I swear I've heard people say, and I feel even more determined, I feel even more stubborn and more defiant about it, because I had this incident where I compared, and don't attack me for this if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, but I did compare it to Song of Ice and Fire series, and yes, I know they're completely different things, and they're nothing alike. I realize that, but I feel like they're backbone of the story. The skeleton of the stories are the same. They're this epic saga. Like I said, hear me out. They're both epic sagas, and I feel like there's characters that are, not, taken seriously, and they're small, and not literally, well, in the case of Lord of the Rings, literally, but characters that just, well, there is a character that is a literal dwarf. Well, not a dwarf like in fantasy, but he was born short, but he's my favorite character. And how it's this epic, and there's these unlikely heroes that must save the day. And yes, I realize, Lord, that unlike this one, it's not really, Song of Ice and Fire is more not a battle of good and evil, but how there's evil and good in everybody. And they're fighting, and yes, they're fighting for power, but it is different. It's not the same thing. But I feel like they're both these epic quests where these characters, these unlikely heroes, are trying to prove themselves. So that's what I meant. But of course, people got mad at me, and I am so worried that people are going to get mad at me. If anyone that watched my video is a fan of fantasy and loves Lord of the Rings, please don't get mad at me, okay? I was just making, a statement that this is my opinion. I feel like they are similar. Not by much, I know, not a lot, but there is a little bit the backbone of the epic story, the epic hero, I'm getting tongue-tied. Small, unlikely heroes, epic story, epic fantasy. and they're, so I know, but it's certain little, they're similar in a small way, a very small way, okay, and, but yeah, but basically, in her response, she was like, oh, Lord of the Rings is far superior to Song of Ice and Fire series. And the only reason she has anything against it is because, and okay, fine, if it's not your thing, then okay, but I just don't act like Lord of the Rings is far superior, just because, I mean, yeah, it was written in the 50s, and yes, it doesn't have the horrible sensationalism that Song of Ice and Fire has. Yes, there's vulgar language, there's sex, okay? But that's not a bad thing, that's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, at least it's not 50 Shades of Grey, which, it's just, if you like 50 Shades of Grey, I don't mean to offend, I probably did either way, and I can't change that, by mentioning it, but anyway, I don't want to get more into detail about that, because maybe you'll ignore that if you have read it. But yes, it has sensationalism, but it's a good book. It doesn't mean it's not a good book. Just because it's not Lord of the Rings does not mean it's not worth it. Okay, fine, if you don't want to read it, but I hate how she was, like, I got this vibe where she thinks Lord of the Rings is so superior and, like, better than Song of Ice and Fire series. And no, I have not read it, okay? So, that's the point of this whole question, that I'm using this as an answer for a book I have not read that I procrastinated reading. Bless you! That was my dog, Rascal. I don't know if you even heard it, but he sneezed. I haven't read it, but still, I've read the Song of Ice and Fire series, and that is great. Yes, it has vulgarity. Yes, it has sex in it, and it's bloody and gory and all that good stuff, but you know what? I don't see anything wrong with that, if it's in the book. As long as it's not erotica, I'm content with the book. And no, Song of Ice and Fire is not erotica. Neither is ACOTAR, by the way. I remember someone basically the same friend said the reason why she's not reading ACOTAR is because she heard it was like a porno. Yes, it's new adult, so it's gonna have the sex and all that. But I need to shut it down because it seems like I'm throwing this particular friend under the bus, and I like this friend. It's just sometimes I don't agree with her opinions, and I don't get them some of her opinions, but I don't want to be one of those people who's like, you can't have your own opinions. So anyway, let me get back on track here. So yeah, this is a book that I kind of want to read, and I kind of don't, because I want to be like, I shouldn't have to read this book, just because it's just because Tolkien is the grandfather of fantasy, and this is the one that started it all, does not mean I have to feel the pressure to read it. But part of me wants to read it, just to say, hey, look, I read the trilogy. You happy now? And I'm sure it's a great book. I love the movies, and I know the movies probably left out a whole bunch of stuff. It's just, I haven't felt the urge to try to read it, because every time I've tried, and, obviously I have, because I have a bookmark in here, it's hard, I lose interest. And it's probably just bad timing, and I could probably take the advice that someone gave me at the bookstore, which is to audiobook it, but then that would mean I'm wondering if that would mean that my parents would be like, well then, if you're getting audiobooks, you may as well get rid of the books, and I almost don't want to, because I am a bit of a book collector. Not as much as some people, because I'm limited on my income. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now, because I've been going off on, talking quite a while about that. Okay, so the next question is, swearing. That's funny. Swearing, a book in which an author or character uses foul language. Which, it's funny, I snicker at this because the book I've chosen, I totally slipped my mind, was this one. The first book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. That is so funny because I was ranting about it and how just because it has the swearing and all that vulgar stuff does not mean it's a bad book. So, yeah, George R. R. Martin puts a lot of that raunchy, inappropriate stuff in here. There's curse words, but it's kind of like, it's a lot closer, I imagine it's a lot closer to medieval period. And that friend of mine is kidding herself if she thinks that wasn't in that time period. I know she's a teacher, of course, so she automatically assumes, but to me, I doubt that wasn't not going on at the time. like, it's in our everyday language now, so I'm sure they had cursing back then too. It's not like they were all like all sugar and coated and princess and the bad guys die and stuff. I mean, I feel like this is a lot closer. Of course, I didn't study it, so I don't know 100%, but I feel like this is a lot closer to what it really was like in medieval time period. So, yes, this one has a lot of the vulgar language, a lot of cursing and all that good stuff. Okay, so next. Oh, it fell. At least nothing fell out. Smoking. A book you can't get enough of because nicotine. Get it? Or a book that is literally cancer. You can answer both if you're an overachiever. Okay, so I understand the cancer part. So if the creator of this book tag is watching this video, can you tell me what you meant by or a book that is literally cancer? Did you mean like a bad book or a book that made you sick? I don't know. So I'm just gonna answer the part about a book you can't get enough of. Okay, did I have one? Oh, I don't think I did. Yeah, I totally forgot to grab one. I'm trying to. Oh, I don't know. I have one. Well, I guess I could say maybe the Lunar Chronicles, because I love that series. Then I'm reading it again for the second time, and when I was reading Stars Above, I was like, I have to buy it. I have to buy it back because I gave my copies to a friend of mine, and we no longer live in the same state because I moved, so I had to rebuy the 4 books, and I fell in love with it all over again, and I'm like obsessed with the series now. I have a book group and everything, and dang it, my lips are so dry. I need to put chapstick on. But yeah, then I'll say that one. I don't have it with me. I don't have it here. But yeah, the Lunar Chronicles. So I have all 4 books, and I have Stars Above, and I have Ferris, which I've read. I read both of those. That's why I got back into Lunar Chronicles, because I read Stars Above, and I just had this urge to get back into it. I haven't got around to Wires and Nerve, but I do want to get it. At some point, I even added it to my list because my birthday's coming up in a couple months. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I'll say the Lunar Chronicles. I feel like I can't get enough of that one. Okay, number 8. That is Overspending, an expensive book you bought. And I said, oh crap, it's over there. I should have moved it closer. Damn it, sorry you guys. Okay, so next, the book. Okay, so actually it was more like I bought this along with 4 other books, so that was overspending altogether. So I'm just gonna say this one. I'm not gonna say all the other books. Well, I'll just tell you. I bought Winter, the paperback edition. I bought Rose Blood, which is the Phantom of the Opera retelling. I got this one, and I got Hunted by Megan Spooner. So that was kind of overspending because normally I don't get like 5 books in one shopping visit. I normally get just 2 at the most, maybe 3. So of course I chose this one because, well, it's a hardback and it's $16.99. So it's I think the prices are usually the same at the store, at Books A Million store. So it's $16.99. So basically $17 for this book. So yes, this is This is the one I'm gonna show you for the little shopping spree I did, and I bought like 3 more books. Actually, I have another book I could show you. Where is it? Okay, well, I also bought. Where is it? Oh, I can't even remember which one. See if I can grab it out. Okay. This one? Yeah. Actually, I could show you guys this one instead. I'm glad I was able to reach for it without knocking anything down. I have a little music box in the spot where I got this book, like in front of it, and it's my Sound of Music box. It plays the song Favorite Things when you wind it. And I didn't want it to break, so luckily I was able to grab this. I'm gonna say this one. Actually, this is the most expensive book. This was $25 $26 actually, because it was $25.99, and usually I round it up. So it was 26 technically. With tax, of course, so that made it a little bit more expensive. I got this one along with a nonfiction memoir of Julie Andrews' life, her early years. That was $16. And then I got this one, which, like I said, is basically $26. So yeah, this is probably more expensive than this one. It's so big, and it's a hardback. They didn't have the paperback edition. I didn't see it there, so I just grabbed this one. And I didn't want to wait because it's only 3 books. I've already read the first one. I haven't read the second one yet. I am waiting to buy this book so I can jump right into the last book. And I do believe the author is writing more books for the story. But yes, it's obviously more expensive because it's a hardback edition. So yeah, so this was more expensive than this one because it was obviously a little bigger. I wish I got the one with color pages. Okay, so let me put those down. I'm almost done, by the way. Okay, so lying, a book you lied about having. Okay, I originally did not have an answer for this one, but, I'm going to say this. I've never lied about a book. I've never read books that I'm ashamed to have read them, that I felt guilty about or felt like I should have read them. I admit that I have not read Lord of the Rings. I've only read The Hobbit. And I always, in school, when we get books assigned to us, I read all of them over the summer. Doesn't mean I take in the information, but I do read them. So the closest I can come to having an answer for this one is that I lie about remembering the books and about how much I love them because, I might have loved them at the time, but sometimes when I answer these tags, I'm thinking about the TV show version of it, or the movie version. Like, I recently recommended North and South, and the Elizabeth Gaskell novel, not the stupid Jonathan Jakes one. Sorry, I am probably just getting mad about that for no reason, because it's just, I told my friends about that, I mentioned North and South, and they were like, oh, you mean the Jonathan Jakes novel? Because it's the same title, but it's about the Civil War. But no, so ever since then, it's like, I feel like I have to point out to people, no, I'm not talking about that one, I've never read that one, I'm talking about the Elizabeth Gaskell novel. And I kind of, I suggested it to people to read as a classic, or, if you're looking for a certain type of romance, I suggest that one, and I have never read the book. I have started it twice now, and I still have not gone back to it. I almost feel like I need to do a buddy read. But I've already told my friend, I've already suggested to my friend, let's buddy read Gone with the Wind, because I just had an urge to read it. But she still has to read Frankenstein, so if I want to do a buddy read, I have to ask someone else to do it with. And I almost feel like I need to do that. I need to do a buddy read for this one. Because as much as I love the story, it's still hard for me to get into it. But yeah, that's the closest I've gotten to lying about a book, is I've told people, I've recommended that books like that, and that one or other books like it, and I haven't got around to reading the book yet. So I guess it kind of does answer the question, lying about a book. I don't say, I admit I didn't read the book, but I also, recommend it to people, even if I haven't read the book and I've only seen the miniseries. My thinking is, well, the miniseries can't be that much different. The only difference is I do believe the ending in the book is different from the ending that's on the miniseries, and I'm a little nervous about that. I've been told, I watch people talk about this book on BookTube, and they say that yes, the ending is different, but it's still a great ending in the book. So I'm kind of nervous that I might be disappointed by the ending of the book. So I'm a little weary about that. So that's close I've come to lying about reading a book. Okay, so last question, number 10. Of course, I think there's probably 11 questions in this, and they say tag people, but I don't like tagging people since I'm still kind of new. And I don't know how to get people to, when I tag, I don't know if people are actually going to watch my, if you guys, my wonderful 26 fan that actually take the time to watch my videos, if you want to do this, tag when I'm done, after you watch my video, or you don't even have to watch my video, and you still want to do the tag, then go for it. But anyway, let me give back and answer this last question. 10. Speeding. A book you read really fast. Okay, originally I was going to say The Alchemist, but for one, I don't know spell the author's name, and I didn't feel like looking it up. I just know it's like Palo something. Palo Coho? I don't know. Which I did, but it's back in my sister's library in her house in Virginia, and I'm a state away, so I can't really. And I feel bad when I can't actually physically show you a copy of the book because I don't know how to post books, post the pictures on videos. I don't know how to do that, and I'm very lazy, and I get frustrated if I can't figure something out. Like, I just want someone to sit with me and work with me on figuring out how to do things like that, and I'm just not very. I get very angry easily when I get frustrated, so I don't want to waste my time. Okay, so I changed the answer to, if I can grab it. I guess I could say Cruel Beauty, because that didn't take me long, but I feel like that's not as impressive, because Cruel Beauty is like a YA, and just the chapters are short anyway, so of course you're going to get through it quickly, and it's not like a 500 or more page book. It's not that big. So I feel like that would be like, oh, of course you read that one fast. But then again, not to say that there are people, not to criticize the people that have not read a book like Cruel Beauty really fast. If you haven't, then nothing wrong with that. It's just, for me, I get through those books really quickly. So I said this one because I feel like this one would be more impressive. It was either this one or Outlander. And Outlander, the only reason why I read that one fast is because, I didn't have a lot. It was during the period when we were getting ready to move, so most of my books were in storage. So I only had a handful of books with me, and I bought that one. So it was like I didn't have any other books to distract me. I did have books, but I didn't have that many books to prevent me that distract me, or books that I really wanted to read. Not that I didn't want to read the books that I had, but you know what I mean. So that one I feel like, well, yeah, but I didn't have any other book distractions. So I did this one. The Name of the Wind, the first book in the Kingkiller Chronicles. I still have not read The Wise Man's Fear, and I'm hoping that the third book will come out soon. But it will probably, I don't know if it will come out in this size right away. I think I would probably, if I wanted to get it right then, it probably would not come, I would probably have to get the hardback edition, because usually the hardback ones come out first. But I got through this one really quickly. The story was incredibly fascinating, and some of the chapters were really brief. I think that helps with a book this size, is if the chapters aren't that long. That's one of the things I do like about Jane Austen's novels, is that they're not that long. The chapters are like only a few pages long, so you get through it really quickly, even if it's a long book. But that really helped in this case. Like, I got through this Name of the Wind really quickly. Not super quick, not like a week, but like a month or two. So I was very proud of that. And that proves that I am capable of getting books like this done. It's just I get so distracted by all my other books that I want to read, and that they're a lot quicker and easier. They're not as long as this one. And then, like, around the time when I do Tome Topple, I make the mistake of doing more than 2 books for Tome Topple. So I end up having a whole bunch of books to read that are this size, and it does not go well. So anyway, yes, I chose this one. And see, I don't care about breaking the spine. So yeah, this is the book I speeded through. I definitely speeded through the one I was originally going to mention. It was only a few days long. It only took me a few days to read. Enough to where I could actually give it back to my sister, because we were going on a little vacation with all the family. And my sister came, of course, with her husband and her little baby boy. My little Harrison. I love that little boy. And it was so cute because he decided he wanted to call me and say hi. He's getting his hair cut, and he decided that he wanted to say hi, and he called me, so it made me very happy, because I get so jealous that when my mom gets to go see them and spend the week because my sister needs extra help, and that my job is so new that I don't want to keep asking off because eventually they're going to tell me no, or at least I'm worried that will happen during a more significant visit. Now that's the problem with having a job, because before I was unemployed, so I could go anytime. I could go with my mom. Okay, so before this video is long, that is the Bad Habits book tag. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I will post the link to the original video creator. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel if you like what you saw. Alright, bye.